let's turn to my other big focus tonight, because Veer Savarkar often makes headlines. It's years since he passed away, but with the return of the BJP 7 years ago, we've seen the return of Savarkar. And only yesterday, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has added to the history wars over Veer Savarkar by claiming that lies were being spread against the freedom fighter, and then went on to make a big claim, saying it was Mahatma Gandhi who asked Savarkar to send a mercy petition to the British. The statement predictably has triggered a full-blown war. Did the Defence Minister lie? Was he economical with the truth? Or was he making facts unknown disclosed? Take a look at this report, and then we'll come to our big history war debate.
The political fight over the legacy of Vinayak Damodar Savarkar has been reignited, courtesy this statement by Rajnath Singh.
महात्मा गांधी ने कहा था कि आप मर्सी पिटीशन फाइल करो. महात्मा गांधी के कहने पर उन्होंने मर्सी पिटीशन फाइल की.
While speaking at a Savarkar book launch, Rajnath Singh defended the freedom fighter, saying that many spread lies about Savarkar, including claiming that he sent numerous mercy petitions to the British government.
सावरकर के खिलाफ झूठ फैलाया गया. बार बार यह बात कही गई कि उन्होंने अंग्रेजी सरकार के सामने अनेकों मर्सी पिटीशन फाइल की. लेकिन सच्चाई है कि मर्सी पिटीशन उन्होंने अपने को रिहा किए जाने के लिए नहीं फाइल की थी. सामान्यतः जो एक कैदी को पूरा अधिकार होता है कि मर्सी पिटीशन फाइल करना चाहे तो वह कर सकता है. महात्मा गांधी ने कहा था कि आप मर्सी पिटीशन फाइल करो. महात्मा गांधी के कहने पर उन्होंने मर्सी पिटीशन फाइल की थी.
The opposition is fuming over this comment, with AIMIM's Owaisi leading the charge, accusing the BJP of distorting history and even saying that very soon Savarkar would be named the father of the nation.
वो शख्स माफीनामा लिखता है अंग्रेजों के लिए. अंग्रेजों से माफीनामा लिखते सावरकर. दूसरे क्यों नहीं लिखे जो काला पानी में थे? ये लोग आज हिस्ट्री को तोड़ मोड़ के पेश कर रहे हैं, और एक वक्त ऐसा आएगा कि अगर ऐसा ही सिलसिला चलता रहा तो महात्मा गांधी को फादर ऑफ द नेशन हटाकर सावरकर को फादर ऑफ द नेशन बना देंगे लोग.
RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat, like the BJP, maintains that Savarkar has been villainized by a lobby in the country, particularly among Muslims.
सावरकर जी को बदनाम करने की मुहिम चली. हिंदुत्व का विचार आज बोलने वाले लोग, उस समय बोलने वाले लोग, वो सामने थे, संघ सामने था. इनके बदनामी की मुहिम चली है.
Savarkar's legacy has been debated time and again, but with Mahatma Gandhi now being dragged in, the opposition is going all out to claim that this is an attempt to defame Gandhi by the BJP. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's raise some big questions. Rajnath Singh, right or wrong in his claim? Did Mahatma Gandhi really ask Savarkar to seek pardon? What did Savarkar's Hindutva stand for? But the critical factor, the Gandhi-Savarkar connect. Joining us now, two views on what's been a shrill debate playing out on social media. Dr. Vikram Sampath, author of a two-part biography on Savarkar, joins me. Also joining me, Professor S. Hirfan Habib, one of the country's leading historians. Appreciate both of you joining us. I know you have been in shrill attacks on social media, but let's try and stick to the facts here on TV. To you, Dr. Sampath, first, because the fact is that it appears that Rajnath Singh was economical with the truth when he said Gandhi asked for Savarkar to file the mercy petition, because 1911, 1913, when the first two petitions are filed by Savarkar from Andaman jail, Gandhi was in South Africa. There is no evidence that Gandhi asked Savarkar to file a mercy petition. And even in 1920, the word mercy is not used in the letter that Gandhi writes to Savarkar's brother. So where does this come from? Is Rajnath Singh being economical with the truth?
Thank you, Rajdeep. Good evening to you and to Professor Habib. I think on TV we are very, very civil. I think social media is a different animal. So you see, I mean, it's not a new revelation, Rajdeep. The dates of these petitions from 1911, 12, 13, which when the British government gave political prisoners opportunities at different time spans during the World War, during when the capital of India shifted, when Emperor George V came came to India, when the royal proclamation was, brought in, general amnesty was brought in, all political prisoners were given this opportunity to file petitions. And so along with Savarkar, there were also people like Barin Ghosh, the brother of Aurobindo Ghosh, Sachindranath Sanyal, and so many others who filed these petitions. And I don't call them mercy petitions. It's a petition. There's no separate legal entity called mercy petition and a petition. It's the same thing. You're putting like a bail application you do today to the government. You're asking the government to release you. And when after the royal proclamation at the end of the First World War, when all other political prisoners were released, but only the two Savarkar brothers were not released, because as Sachindranath Sanyal mentions in his Mera Bandi Jeevan, they considered him as a D category dangerous criminal and they didn't want him out. That is when the younger brother Narayan Rao goes to Gandhiji, and Gandhiji says, ask them to file a petition. I'll also see what I can do on my behalf. And he writes that very passionate article making a case for their release. So if it was something which is very unusual to file a petition, Gandhiji would not have advised him to do the same thing.
But
so
he
someone
doesn't
like
use the word
Shripad Dange of the left party, the founder of CPI.
Dr. Sampath, he doesn't use at no stage. I have the letter that Gandhi writes. Gandhi says on January 25th, 1920, I have your letter. It is difficult to advise you. I suggest, however, you're framing a brief petition, setting forth the facts of the case, bringing out in clear relief that the offense committed by your brother was purely political. He doesn't say to apologize to the British.
It's nothing called apologize. That's what, as I said, it's not some major revelation. These petitions, Savarkar himself writes about the petitions that he wrote in his Maji Janma tape, his autobiography, in Echoes from the Andaman, letters to his, younger brother. In my own book, in the volume 1, in the appendix, all these petitions are written. Nowhere is it called as an apology for what you've done. In fact, when the British official, Reginald Craddock, comes to Cellular Jail, he has a half-an-hour interview with Savarkar, and in an official jotting, he says, I had a half-an-hour interview with this man, and he shows no remorse or regret or apology for whatever acts of revolution he did. So why will the British also be on his side and actually say that he could have fallen at his feet at that time and said, please let me go from this hellhole. So there's no difference between a petition and a mercy petition. And to get onto that legalese, there's no mercy or apology.
You're saying there's no mercy or apology, but do you concede that in 1911, 1912, or 1911, 1913, when the original petitions are filed, Gandhi doesn't advise Savarkar to file the petitions for his release?
Yeah, I think what Mr. Rajnath Singh, I'm not his spokesperson, but maybe what he meant to say was even Gandhiji advised Savarkar to file a petition. So it's made such a big deal of that he filed a petition. If it was such a bad thing, then Gandhiji advising him to file, the blame would have to fall on him also, that he was also asking him to file a petition with the government. As I said, people like Ram Prasad Bismil, Ashfaqullah Khan, petitions were filed on their behalf by Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya. Shripad Dange, the founder of the CPI, filed a petition. So they were, as I said, Barin Ghosh, Sachin Sanyal, all of them filed petitions. So do we call all of them as traitors? And the format was very similar. You had a same format which the British government had, which had yours most obedient servant. Just like today we say thanks and regards at the end of an email. You had to, when you do a prayer in a court, that doesn't mean your lordship, when you say that even today in court, it doesn't mean that he's God. So there's a format of putting a petition.
Let me bring in Professor Habib at this point. Professor Habib, do you believe that actually the truth lies somewhere in between, as it often does?
Yes, it lies in between. There are lots of things which are being missed because the petitions which are filed, there is no doubt. He was not the first person or the last person who actually filed a petition. Petitions are filed by prisoners on different grounds, on health grounds, on so many other political grounds maybe. Point is, and there is no format. You see, the format doesn't mean that you are not allowed to write what you want to write. You could write different things for when you plead your case. That's what's all the 4 or 5 petitions which Savarkar wrote. They are not exactly the same language.
No, but the antagonism, Professor Habib, for the longest time, the moment Rajnath Singh claimed yesterday that it is a regular practice for a person to file petition, Mahatma Gandhi asked him to file mercy petition. There's been anger from certain historians who are saying this is a lie. Now,
Rajnath Singh's claim is totally outrageous. What
is outrageous about it? Specifically, what is it about it that you believe is outrageous?
he should have used his words a little more carefully. He was little not very careful about the way he presented it. He could have done it a little differently. No, that's a different issue. The point is, the letter which Gandhi wrote regarding Savarkar brothers, he writes very clearly that these brothers have already assured the government that they are not going to contest the British rule over India after they go out.
Yes.
They are not seeking independence from the British rule. I don't think other people who wrote mercy petitions use this sort of language. At least I am not aware of.
So you're saying that that Savarkar's letter effectively amounts to his accepting British.
This is Gandhi writing. Gandhi paraphrasing them. No,
yes, the exact words, they both state unequivocally that they do not desire independence from the British connection.
Yeah, that's what Gandhi writes. If you believe him. If you don't believe him, it's okay. It is Gandhi who is writing.
Sampath, you want to respond to that very clearly. They do not, they both state unequivocally that the Savarkar brothers, that is, that they do not desire independence from the British connection. On the contrary, they feel that India's destiny can be best worked out in association with the British.
And what's the second line after that, Rajdeep? He says, I think we should take that at face value.
Yes,
which means
nobody
that
has
Gandhi
questioned their honor or their honesty. And in my opinion, the published expression of their views ought to be taken at its face value.
Exactly. So what does that mean? That Gandhi also actually endorsed that thing, that it ought to be taken at face value, because this was also the time of the First World War, when Gandhiji was going from village to village in Gujarat, recruiting soldiers for the British for the First World War. He had got a Kaisar-e-Hind medal of loyalty to the British. It was a different era. So they wanted to work with the British. The Montagu-Chelmsford reforms had been kicked in. And so you had to see if any kind of constitutional process could be done. So Gandhiji, if he says it ought to be taken at face value, does it not imply that he is actually endorsing what that they don't want to fight?
Professor Habib?
We should allow them to do that. It's in plain English. You can't selectively cut that out and use that. And that was my grouse with Professor Habib, that you can't be selective in your quotation as an academic.
I'm very, no, not selective at all. Not selective at all. It is Gandhi's. These are Gandhi's words.
Yes.
Gandhi's words. Go and see the collected volume 17. So I'm not speaking anything from my own side.
Sure, but Professor Habib, 1921, Mahatma Gandhi also writes about Veer Savarkar. He's a patriot. He was frankly a revolutionary. The evil in its hideous form of the present system of government he saw much earlier than I did. He is in the Andamans for his having loved India too well.
I said to some other channel today morning, I consider Savarkar a revolutionary, the early phase. The best book on 1857 written by him. Bhagat Singh writes very admiringly about him somewhere in his articles. I've worked on Bhagat Singh and I've seen so many times, so many writings. So the early phase of Savarkar, nobody can question that, and I don't want to question that at all. He was a revolutionary. The point is what happens later on. What if you don't call them mercy petitions, give them some other name, but they are writings where he's pleading with the British that he will actually abide by the British rule. He will not seek independence from the British connection. I don't know whatever it means.
Can I therefore ask you a final question, Vikram, Dr. Sampath? Are we moving from the demonization of Savarkar, particularly post-Indira Congress, to now the lionizing of Savarkar? Every effort is being made to make him a national hero, almost on par with other national heroes, a desperate attempt to create a kind of RSS historiography, to find their national icons. Is it from demonization to lionization, so the truth will never be told?
That you need to ask the RSS, Rajdeep, and I don't speak for the RSS.
I'll ask historians. Historians are being in a sense moving from demonization to lionization.
No, even now there are a lot of, I believe there's another book in the making which is going to fix Savarkar's role in Gandhi's assassination. So I think there are a multiplicity of views. So it's not as if it's some state-sponsored project that a lot of, lionizing, attempts are being made of Savarkar. For the longest time, he was almost a persona non grata in Indian politics as well as public discourse. You may hate somebody, you may love somebody, but to actually cancel culture them and not even have a say main academic discourse or a public discourse, or have him as a part of your political, conversation, I think that is completely antithetical to the very tenets of democracy. So today it's good that all these suppressed voices, subaltern is the buzzword on one ideological stand of the historiography. Subaltern voices are these which are coming out. And I just want to add one little bit, Rajdeep, with your permission.
He was hardly subaltern.
That there was no, after he came out of, Ratnagiri, the 13 years, what was initially 5 years of confinement in Ratnagiri extended to 13 years. So if someone had actually become a stooge, he had sold himself out, the British would have co-opted him. He was a lawyer. He was an educated fellow. He would have been co-opted into the Viceroy's Council. Why did they have to extend a 5-year period to 13 years period? Every time his case came up for a review, they said, we do not trust this man because all through he had these underground connections with the revolutionaries, be it Chandrasekhar Azad or Bhagat Singh or Durga Bhabhi or Raj Bihari Bose and all of them.
Yes, Irfan Habib particularly wants to explain this connection. Yes, Professor Habib.
When you speak about Bhagat Singh, can you give me one instance where any of them, Savarkar or Hedgewar, Munje, or any of these right-wing stars, made a one-line comment when Bhagat Singh was hanged?
Oh my God!
Just give me. Tell me where.
Sir,
tell me.
Professor Habib, this is amazing.
I want to know.
I would love to
read. It is not amazing.
I mean,
it is not amazing.
In the Shraddhanand.
I spent 40 years working on Bhagat Singh, bhai.
So,
tell me where
Professor Habib has written a definitive biography of Bhagat Singh. He says there is no evidence. You're saying that any of these right-wing icons at any stage stood up for Bhagat Singh. Am I correct?
They were no, not at all. I mean,
another thing.
All the time.
One more correction, because both of them are revolutionaries. Bhagat Singh, when he was in prison, when he was charged and was about to be hanged, his father tried all means to save him. Finally, he filed a mercy petition in Privy Council in London without informing Bhagat Singh. And you know what was the reaction of Bhagat Singh? The letter he wrote to his father, Sardar Kishan Singh, was that you have insulted me today. You have hurt me today.
So you're saying from Bhagat Singh, who felt he was insulted that a petition was being filed for his release,
yes,
to Savarkar, who filed a series of petitions for his release. You have two contrasting views.
By his father.
We will debate Bhagat Singh and Savarkar on another day.
Yeah.
For now, let's confine ourselves to what happened in the present controversy. Vikram, I've run completely out of time. I wish we had much more time, and hopefully we will in the days ahead.
Thank you.
I'm glad that at least we are having these discourses and discussions in a rational manner without the name calling. Thank you all very much for joining me.